I remember this like it was yesterday. I was in middle school, sitting in history class, trying to make friends with this kid who I knew also had a dirt bike. I brought up the YZ125 that I just got for Christmas that year and was super excited about. The kid then proceeded to tell me that the 125 was such a slow bike, that he had a big bad Honda 450 and that he could wheelie it in 5th gear through the field for days. Other times when I'd try to talk about dirt bikes with kids in school, they'd tell me that riding fast was easy. All you gotta do is sit down and twist the throttle, they'd say. That's how you really go fast. I wish I could say that this was just kids being kids in middle school, but unfortunately, this mindset still continues throughout the dirt bike riding community today. Not only amongst middle school kids, but also full-grown adults as well. Because of that, today I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't try to be a faster rider and what you should do instead. But before we get into all that, I'm trying to reach 5,000 subs. It's free and it really helps me out, so hit that button below and join the Supermoto crew today. Anybody can twist the throttle on a dirt bike and go as fast as it'll take you. I'll admit it, that is extremely easy and that takes very little skill to do. But if you ride with people who are actually fast riders, you'll quickly see that there's much more to it than just going physically fast on a dirt bike. Truly fast and good riders make obstacles look effortless. Sometimes they don't even look like they're going fast at all. It seems as though they're just gliding over the terrain like they're levitating. But really, they're hauling some serious ass. I recently posted a video talking about my first harescramble race, and I was met with one particular comment from a full-grown man-child, which brought me right back to those middle school days. I'd like to share this expertly crafted comment with you, and then I'd like to explain how actual fast riders really get so fast. So stay tuned. So here's the stellar quote from the comment section. "I cannot be quiet. I know nothing about you. Somehow YouTube thought I would like your video. I'm gonna lay it out here for all peeps and try not to personally insult you. First, it is never the bike, it is the rider. The C class is where you belong for a whole year. All this talk sounds like you are a noob. Your speed from the video shows you are a beginner. That is not an insult. Twice this year, the overall was taken on a 250 in the GNCC series. Work on your skills and twist the throttle more. You are slow because of fear. Stop wasting money on computers and cameras." I thought that was kind of interesting because literally in the title of the video, I talk about how it's my first race. So I wasn't trying to hide the fact that I'm a noob at harescramble races. But anyway, I'm not gonna go through this and pick apart his comment. Basically, I just replied and was like, "Interesting take, man." Also, I don't really understand what the stop wasting money on computers and cameras part was about, but anyway, in a later response he said something even better, so here's that. He said, "Go faster. The faster you go puts you into different lines on the same trail. It all comes together with time in the saddle. The easiest way to learn is to ride with guys that are faster than you. You will constantly see them hit stuff different than you were going to, and they do it right in front of you." So some of that I agree with. He's spot on. Other parts of it is just twist the throttle. You're slow because of fear. Go faster. Okay, thanks for the advice, man. I'll just try to go faster. There's this idea, right, that we all need to be faster riders. This is false. I feel like most people are just out there riding dirt bikes to have fun. But that's fine if you do want to be a faster rider. It's totally fine. It's valid. But to be a faster rider, you actually have to be a better rider. You don't just go faster. That's not how it works. Now, before I get into it, I'm not talking about myself here or bragging about my ability personally. I do have a lot of experience on dirt bikes and I feel quite comfortable riding them over lots of different types of terrain, but I'm not even anywhere close to the ability of the top racers at your local harescramble, enduro, or motocross race. I have, however, had the opportunity to ride with people like that though, so I'd like to share what I've observed. So here's the thing that I've observed with these people that are truly, genuinely very fast. They make less mistakes than you do. They're smoother. They're faster because of that, because they make less mistakes when they're going over obstacles and basically everywhere they ride. And because they're smoother and they make less mistakes, they're faster. Plus, they spend less energy riding, so they can ride for longer. It also comes down to fitness and that sort of thing, but it's really just because they're tackling the terrain in the correct way. They're making less mistakes and they're smoother. That's why they're faster. They're able to carry more momentum and speed through the turns because they're making less mistakes in the turns. They're not just faster just because they're twisting the throttle faster. That is such a watered down and basic way to think about how to improve. You have to be a better rider before you can be a faster rider. So let me ask you this. Can you stop and balance with both feet on the pegs for a few seconds and analyze the trail ahead of you without putting your feet down? Faster riders can certainly do that. Sometimes it's not all about going fast. Sometimes you have to go slower to go faster. Let's take Jet Lawrence for an example. When he was a rookie, he was extremely fast. He had this like blistering speed, right? But when he got into Supercross, he would crash out a lot. He would get injured. He was basically riding over his head. That's a term that I've heard a lot. And it's true, like you can go really fast, but if you go fast without the knowledge and skill set to back that up, like your foundation, you're riding over your head. You're gonna get hurt, you're gonna crash out, and it's all for nothing. There's no point in that. Now, if you look at Jet Lawrence, he is incredibly smooth. Like there's tons of videos online of Jet just like in slow motion, picking these crazy creative lines on the motocross track, wheel tapping over crazy like huge braking bumps. He looks like he's picking through the track with a fine-tooth comb, and other people are hitting the same sections and they're slamming into these braking bumps and bouncing all over the place, and you know, they might be twisting the throttle really fast and going over the section, but they're doing it in a really rough way. Whereas people like Jet Lawrence are just gliding over these really rough sections. And that's not because he's a faster rider, that's because he's a good rider. He has things like very good fundamentals, very creative and good line selection. And like, obviously Jet Lawrence, he's at the top of the sport, at least in motocross. He's an anomaly, right? But like, if you look at even just your local fast riders, they ride over the obstacles in an effortless way. They make things look easy. Like, I'm sure you've seen really fast people and you're like, how in the world are they doing that? That's because they're tackling the obstacles correctly. They're not just like getting through them with brute force. And in the example of the dirt bike world, brute force is basically just twisting the throttle, going faster. You know, you can hit stuff really fast, but if you're not picking the right lines, if you're not tackling the obstacles in a smooth way and the correct way, then you're still going to be slower. Even if you may technically be like hitting a faster mile per hour speed. Let's look at it with the example of turning, right? If you're going into a turn really, really fast, like almost 100% of the speed you can possibly hit that turn at, right? But then you have to slam on the brakes. And because of that, you come to a complete stop at the apex of the turn. All right, now you're at a complete stop. Now, if you didn't slide out and like blow out the turn because you went too fast into it, you have to get back on the throttle and maybe your wheel spins or whatever, but you're just doing this really not smooth and like jerky motion. You come flying into the turn, slam on the brakes, come to a complete stop, then get back on the throttle, all out of control. And okay, yeah, you might have gone into that turn really fast, but you just lost like 3 seconds on someone else who might have gone through the turn originally slower than you, but they carried that consistent momentum and smoothness through the whole length of the turn. It's not just going faster, it's being smoother and carrying your momentum. And not only that, it's about tackling the obstacles correctly, like I keep saying. I'll give a personal example of mine. I recently went to an indoor arena cross track, and it's my first time riding jumps and motocross all year. This year I've just been mainly doing single track, but it was my first time back on like a motocross track, and this arena cross track is even slightly different than a motocross track, where it's very tight, technical, peaky jumps, like Supercross, but a little more tamed down. And so I get there, and the first few laps out, I could not hit anything. And I was rolling over the whoop sections. I was just going single over every single jump on the rhythm sections. And those first couple laps were the most tiring laps of the entire night. And yes, I was going slow because I wasn't tackling any of the obstacles. I wasn't even hitting them. But once I started getting more comfortable, I started hitting the first doubles. And I'll put some example footage here. I noticed that there was this one section that was basically a double, and then the following section was a double, single. And when I first tried to hit it, I seat bounced the first double, And then I hit the second double just normally, like, just trying to carry my speed, not do anything special at all, just in a neutral body position. And what was happening was I wasn't getting that pop over the landing of the next double. I was landing very flat, like back wheel first, and the landings were pretty peaky. So the correct way to do it was to angle your front wheel down and like perfectly downside the jump. And I was missing a key point, which was compress the suspension, load the suspension at the bottom of the dip, in between the first double set and the lip of the second double set. And then I started doing it. I seat bounced the first one, and then when I landed, I basically like crouched down and loaded the suspension. And then whenever I took off on the next one, I jumped up at the lip of the jump, and the suspension perfectly unloaded, and it kind of popped me up higher, and it even angled my front end down. So whenever I landed the next set, I perfectly downsided it. I did the same thing again, loaded the suspension correctly, and that's the correct way to go through that rhythm section. I could have tried to just give it more gas and go faster, which I did in the beginning, but it didn't work. You have to do it smoothly and use the correct skill set, the correct method for that specific obstacle. That's how you end up going faster. Because I was smoother, I was going faster. And not only that, I ended up not expending as much energy. So that's just a small example of just going faster, just twisting the throttle is not the correct way to go faster. And I know this is starting to get a little ranty at the end of the video, but the point is, don't fall into the trap of trying to be faster. Riding fast on a dirt bike is easy. It's true. You just sit down and twist the throttle, okay? But there's a difference between just going fast and being a good rider. There's no easy solution to being a good rider. You have to ride a lot, observe what works and what doesn't. That goes with your own riding, but also watching other people. Watch when they make mistakes. What happened? Watch when they do stuff good. What did they do differently? Try to figure out what was done differently in those situations that made it a success rather than a failure, or faster rather than slower. Being a good and fast rider is like solving the ultimate puzzle. And that is the fun in riding dirt bikes. That's all I have for now, but I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Soup out.